Hey, welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm the host of the MoneyFitMD show. This is where we talk about all things money and mindset because I truly believe that when we pair these two things together, it is pretty much impossible for us to not create wealth. So I hope you enjoy the show. Make sure you learn, make sure you take actions, and make sure you share the link to the show with all the humans in your life so that we can all start to build wealth together from the inside out. Enjoy this episode.
Hey guys, I have an amazing episode for you today, and it is going to be fantastic, especially if you're someone that has debt and you're like, I want to figure out my debt. This is a gift to you. For those that I haven't met, I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm a physician, a GI doctor, mama of three little ladies, the author of the book Done with Broke, and the proud creator of MoneyFitMD platform, which is where we educate, equip, and coach women physicians to create their seven-figure life. So if you're a woman physician, I'm so glad you're here. I love, love, love meeting you guys. By the way, in 2024, we're coming up with some ideas of how we're going to be able to meet in person. Cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So, today's episode is something that I truly think that is going to be a blessing to so many people. And it is going into how I paid off six figures in debt in 2.5 years. So, before I go into the details of that, I want to be sure that you understand my stance with debt. I do not believe that all debt is created equal, and I do not believe that debt is made by the devil. I believe that debt, like anything else, like a knife, is a tool that you can use for optimal reasons or not optimal reasons, right? So the way that I think about debt is that I want to take care of my debt that is high interest, that are liability based, and I want to leverage the debt that can help me build wealth, right? It is something that the wealthy do. The key is to not overstretch or over leverage, is what we call it, what you borrow more than you can take care of. However, when I look at my journey, debt has paid part, like it's literally been a significant part of it, right? Meaning that, I mean, I had student debt like a lot of you guys did. And I wanted to pay it off in 5 years, but I ended up paying it off in 2.5 years, which I'm grateful for. And at the end of paying off my student debt, I decided that I wanted to invest in real estate. So I went into debt, but a different kind of debt, which is to asset building and making sure that it's leveraged, but not over leveraged, meaning that I'm not doing more than I can chew, which I think is a mistake that some people make. And for you, you have to find the happy medium in between that works for your life. And the reason why I wanted to share that is because there's so much judgment when it comes to debt. But you're not going to hear any of that judgment in my space or around me because I don't think it's useful or helpful at all, because judgment doesn't help you actually take steps that you want. It doesn't help you be free. It doesn't help you practice on your terms. It doesn't help you live life with a pep in your step. Like, that's what I'm all about. I want you to spend your money without guilt. I want you to spend it without shame. And I want you to build wealth without shame either. So back to my student loan. So for those that may not know my background, I did not know anything about money. I did not even know who I owed until 7 years ago. Thankfully, I didn't have crazy amount of credit card debt, but I did have student debt that was in the six figures. And at that point where I decided to start getting my finances in order, one of the things that I chose to do was, okay, I need to figure out how to pay this debt off. I need to figure out how to make sure that I'm not continuing to live paycheck to paycheck. I want to make sure that this student loan is not something that is continuing to come along with me for the ride. Again, like I mentioned earlier, my thoughts have changed, have evolved when it comes to how I use debt, but this is where I was then, and it served me greatly. And this will apply regardless of what kind of debt that you have. So the first thing that I did was I had a plan. I created a plan. So I made sure that the plan was reasonable for me. The plan was something that did not make me hustle or grind to pieces. And the plan was something that I knew that I could be able to execute. I gave myself some room. Again, I said 5 years was what I gave myself. And at first, my student debt were they were federal. So I actually refinanced with a private company. I used SoFi at that point, and interest rates were much better than they are right now. I chose variable, and the reason why I chose variable was because I needed some light in my bum to get me moving, right? And as a physician, I do like games. I do like competitiveness to a level. So it was pretty fun. I gamified it. I made it fun for myself, which was, can I pay this low? Like, how much fun can I do? Like, let me win this game of paying off this debt. Again, it did not grind me to death. I wasn't taking extra shifts, but I created a plan. 5 years that gave me a leeway to be able to take care of my family, take care of my kids, have a life to an extent, and know that if I executed the plan that I had, then the debt was pretty much gone. Okay. And so once I had a plan, I automated the plan, meaning that I set it so that I don't have to physically pay that bill every month, but the bill gets taken care of regardless. And because at that point I was held early in my financial journey, I didn't really know much about my numbers to a crazy extent at the beginning. I wanted to create some leeway for myself. So what that could look like for you, maybe scheduling and automating the debt. So for example, if your minimum payment is say 1,500, you may literally do like, I don't know, $2,000, right? $2,000 every month that's automated. And then now you can now add on it as you can based on what your other things are, like your investment goals. And I had a lot of fun with amortization schedule. And if you don't know what that means, you can Google amortization bank rate. Is I like their calculator. And what they actually do is if you put on different scenarios of what would happen if I did this. So for example, what would happen if I paid an extra 500? What would happen to my total interest paid up? What would happen if I paid an extra 1,500? What would happen if I don't change anything? And just looking at the interest paid, looking at total interest paid, number one, looking at the date you would pay it off, number two. And honestly, I found a number that would piss me off or motivate me. So the interest would motivate me, meaning that if I'm looking at my debt and I pay it off at 5 years, maybe my total interest paid may have been like $60,000. But if I did it in like 1 year less, my interest paid maybe 40,000. So seeing that difference in dollars, in like that motivated me to get it done, but not motivate me in a way that grinds me. I want to make sure that that's clear, but it became more of a almost like a fun exercise where it's like, let's do this and see what happens. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do this. So have a plan, automate in the plan. That's number one. Number two was I learned my numbers, right? And when I say learning my numbers, I learned things like how much are we actually spending every month? How much are we spending every month for our food? How much are we spending for our rent? We're renting at first. How much are we, paying for utilities? How much are we paying for all those bills? And I negotiated the bills, and sometimes it was finding a different vendor at no decreased value received, right? So for example, maybe we don't have cable anymore, but let's assume you have two cable companies you're looking for, and one may be like $100 cheaper than the other. And so now I go to my amortization schedule from my number one and go, if I paid $100 a month, what difference would it make? Oh my goodness. Okay, that would make that difference. I am definitely going to be switching, right? So I found a compelling reason, something that motivated me, something that inspired me to move, and I let that be the reason why I took action. So find what inspires you to move, but you have to know your numbers, because if you don't know your numbers, how is the math supposed to make sense? How is the math supposed to math? Right? So keep that in mind. And the number three was this: I chose how we would have a life. That is important because so many of you guys are grinding yourself to pieces and forgetting the fact that your life is more than paying that off. Your life is more than working. Your life is having a life. Literally, having a life. I talk about creating your seven-figure life. It's having a life, right? I decided that I wanted to live my life without burning out. I decided that I wanted to have dinner with my family when I was not on call. I decided the parameters that equated having a life. I decided that we wanted to take breaks and vacations, but it didn't have to be fancy. It didn't have to be international. It could be driving 2 hours to the beach and using my credit card points to book a hotel and, eating out some of it, taking breakfast foods, which, a lot of times you're like, why are we paying for cereal at this place? Because when you have kids, they don't even eat a lot, right? So asking myself that question of how do I choose to have a life even in the season was so important, because then it wasn't like I was suffering. It wasn't like I was living in the state of like lack of frugality. And because of those three things that I did is why I was able to pay off my debt in 2.5 years, right? So again, you need a plan, automate the plan. You need to know your numbers, right? And make sure that the numbers you're looking at drives you or compels you to action. And the number three is choose how you're going to have a life, because this is not a matter of your money or your life. It is both. We want you to have both. So take some time and just look at your stuff. Look at your debt. Like, what are the stuff that you owe? Like, are they high interest credit cards? Like, what are the ways that you can figure out what plan do you want? And, there are different schools of thought. A lot of times I like when people pay the high interest when it comes to numbers. That makes sense. But when it comes to like the psychological part of it, paying off the lowest balance also makes sense. So asking yourself, what plan? And there's no one perfect plan. The plan that makes sense is the one that you're going to execute. The best plan is the one that you execute. So make a plan and now execute the plan. I always tell you guys, some of the keys to success is making sure that you're sharing the plans that you have with at least one other people, at least one other person, right? So that means like if you really want to succeed, if you want to increase your chances of executing what you've done or what you want to do, find a community, share your goals with them, share what you're trying to do with them, and get each other motivated. That is literally what we do in my community. We get coaching, we get education, we provide the support, we provide the accountability, we provide the village of amazing support system. And that is why our women succeed at the things that they do. That's why they pay out their debt, they invest, they are living life and practicing medicine on their terms. And those that are not doing that yet, they're on their way to creating that. And that is what it's about. So for you, go do the work. You have my assignment. And let me know. Send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. MoneyFitMD or Dr. Latifat Akintade. And of course, as always, share this with other women physicians. I think it's about freaking time we are equipped to do the things that we want to do. And by the way, if you've been listening to this and you still haven't downloaded or accessed our video that I made for you on how to create your seven-figure life, go do that right now. Go to moneyfitmd.com/TMD. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I cannot wait to celebrate you. Take care and have a good night. Bye bye.